Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Episode 17. Check the Wire podcast. How do you like those 17 apples? Ryan, what's going on?
Dude, that's 4 months and a bit. It just keeps going up.
It's, you know what? It's going to go up and up and up. Like some merch sales. That's
well, not anymore. Cause
tell me one good thing that's been going on outside of the world that we live in of just YouTube content creation. Tell me what's some good eats.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
Like just in real life eats.
Geez, that's I wish I were primed on this question. I wasn't prepared to answer a real life question. I don't. All I can really say is like the pregnancy is going really well. That's a gimme. You know, Kate is in a good place. You know, she's not going through many symptoms, and you know, pretty much just living life like normal for now.
How are the dad feels? Are you like you're like okay, you know, October's it's now 1 month closer. Like how you feeling?
Yeah, 4 months has never seemed like so close for sure. Like. Especially like she's at 20. This will be week 23, I think, of 40, basically. So she's more than halfway there. And you start doing the math, you're like, oh man, that's like every week is like 5% closer. Like it's really starting to get real for sure. Like we're buying baby stuff, we're getting the room set up, and you know, screwing our furniture into the walls, and you know, getting all that under control.
Yeah, dude. It's sorry, I was distracted by your background in the lower left corner. That's new tech.
This one, yeah. We're wider than usual. Kate took a mixology class like back in December before the pregnancy, obviously.
Yeah.
So we got a bar cart, and that's been chilling there for 7 months.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about like you're like on the precipice of life changing, and like you're knocking on the door, and I just saw like the mountain, the summit, and you've climbed the summit, and now you're on the downslope. But I'm excited to, you know, I think it's going to be an interesting to get some updates in terms of, you know, how you're managing a life-changing variable. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. How about you? What's good in your life?
Yeah, stuff's good, man. Like in Michigan, the weather's turning a little bit. People are out, you know, I'm looking for a bike right now. It's, you know, just to get it going a little bit. Side note,
you want to talk about good weather? Check this out. I'm glowing when I open the blinds.
Yeah. Oh, a quick side note before we jump in. You used to ride a bike. What did you ride? Like a hybrid, a mountain racing? What did you?
It was
ride?
a hybrid. Yeah.
What kind did you get?
I think it was actually called an Apollo. I haven't ridden it in a couple of years, but for real, I do think it's called an Apollo. I don't know anything about. Basically, I walked into the bike store with Kate and was like, they were like, "What do you want?" And Kate was like, "I want something comfortable." And I was like, "I want something that's like, it's not a road bike, but is like, you know, it can be fast, but also like you can just do a casual ride with it."
See, and when you say road bike, because I've just been briefed in the world of bikes. When you think road bike, I'm thinking like pavement or like sidewalk, like just a gingerly. But when you say road, you're talking like curved horn, space helmet.
Yeah. So it's like you'd put it on the asphalt, and you know, I guess it doesn't do well on gravel or on sand or anything like that. So,
and then on your handlebars, are they up a little bit so you're not hunched, or like is it
they're straight across handlebars.
Okay.
Like it's a pretty casual bike. Like it doesn't have clips on the pedals for you to wear the shoes that you clip into and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's a little sweaty. I mean, nothing against professional bikers, but
I mean, dude, especially like when COVID was at its peak and nobody was outside driving, it was just like Lance Armstrong times 1,000 every day in Vancouver.
Do you think you'll ever hop back on? Because you used to ride pretty hard, and then did you get yeeted? Did something happen with you?
No, I can't remember why I stopped. I mean, really, like I think I stopped because the weather is not nice in the wintertime unless you are like a sweat lord, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but you know, you gotta. It rains all the time. Let's put it that way in the wintertime. So, I focused on lifting instead, I guess. But I think biking is like. For me, I'm like when I get a little older, I think biking would be great.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not trying to say that you're at that point.
Well, that's good. All right, so good sauce all around. Let's jump right into to the meat and the. What did Kate make you on Tuesday? Because you hyped it up. You said it was.
Oh well, it was DoorDash. We got a chicken katsu sandwich
Ah,
or a pork katsu sandwich.
let's get into the potato and katsu, shall we? What was your big? Let's start with the big W of the week for you.
I'm gonna pivot on you, and I'm gonna start with L because I don't know
That's fair.
what my dub is.
Okay.
My L is I am way too busy.
In what
Full
way?
stop.
In
There's no like moment this week where I was like, oh, there's like a teachable moment there. What happened this week is I'm just burning the candle at both ends. The backlog for everything is getting down to 0. And really what it is, I'm still working as much as ever, but Malf and I are doing the Super Mega Baseball 3 series on top of everything else. And those episodes are like 40 minutes long each. And then I'm at the point now where like whenever anything comes up during the day, I'm like, I can't deal with it at all. Like today, like I got out of the shower and Kate was like, do you want to change the sheets on the bed? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I got the time, because if I do this, then I won't be able to do 2 videos before Check the Wire. And then, you know, we've got to like another errand we got to run this afternoon. And then I got to come back and I got to play Super Mega Baseball 3 with Malf. And each one of those videos is 40 minutes. But we got to get 7 of them done if possible. And then I got to do at least 1 more Northernlion tries. And that's just a break even. So my big L of this week is I am strapped. I am strapped on time.
So is that the sole element that threw like a monkey wrench into the hydroponic machine?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Like I'm, and it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like the reception is good. And when I don't know if this is the same for you, but like when I'm working, it's copacetic.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm playing baseball with Malf, you know, if that takes 6 or 7 hours, who cares? Right. But everything else in my life that gets squeezed as a result of that gets worse. Like, and this is admittedly first world problem, but like even this morning I worked out for like half an hour and I was like, I don't know if I can squeeze in the workout this morning and still not have that have a knock-on effect with everything else. You know, like you're not just nutrition in the performance sense, but in like I haven't eaten like a real meal today. That's the kind of stuff that like it starts to have an impact on your physical and mental well-being as well. So I'm just like, I was close to the red line and then I like put a brick on the accelerator. So for 6 days.
So I think it's pretty insightful to understand like, hey, look, like this is what is causing things to go haywire. So I guess my next question is, what are you doing about it? Right. So that next week is not hogged up or whatever.
Yeah. I don't have an answer yet. My hope is that, you know, whatever we do next week for the Golden Goblet, I'm in your position now where I'm like, I want those videos to be like 15 to 20 minutes maximum. Because if a good Warzone game sometimes could be like 35, and just that being 35 means I can't do 3 videos. Instead, I'm only doing the 1 video, and then it kind of spirals from there. That's the only actionable thing, because like I'm not gonna yeet baseball for sure. The only other thing is maybe moving baseball and Northernlion tries to like 5 days a week instead of 7 days a week. Maybe one of them will take the weekend off and one of them will take like Tuesday, Wednesday off or something like that, just to make sure. Because it's really packed right now.
Because I saw you tweet out, which is pretty rare for you, not to put additional bricks on the pedal, but you said, hey, like Northernlion's try isn't, it won't be here today, it'll be tomorrow. And I'm like, to see something like that from you is like, you know, needle in a haystack.
It's rare. Yeah. And that was just I mean, basically, and there's a little bit of my own fault involved as well. So like on Tuesday, I went longer than I had to go, you know, because we always do. And I was jazzed after the Unity stuff, because the Team Unity Tuesday went really well this week, but then I played like too much Dark Souls. I didn't have time to do a Northernlion tries afterwards, so I was like, you know, I'll just eat it tomorrow. But definitely, like, it's not bad time management. It's just, and we talked about this maybe like a month ago, it's really easy to say yes to more things, and then like it's tough to claw that time back, because anytime you claw something back, you're disappointing. Even if it's just a little disappointment, it doesn't feel good to disappoint like 5,000 people.
Yeah. No, so I mean, it kind of ties in what you started with. Do you see yourself like, I not predicting down the road, but you got 4 months left until your life changes. Like, is there going to be a mode when you think you'll go into like shelter mode where you're like, all right, I am doing nothing but building my backlog, I got to make some cuts? Like, do you think you're going to go into a different mode, or are you just going to like redline it up until the birth and then shut it down? I mean, it's something you got to think about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it, like, realistically, and I've talked about this on the show, but like my number one priority is going to be my kid.
Mhm.
So for sure, I'm not going to be like, after we get out of the hospital, like a day or two later, be like, sorry, honey, I'm gonna
You got
gotta
this
get
one.
back to the Isaac Mines, right? So it would be good to backlog a little bit for sure. So I think at some point, probably like in August, I'm gonna have to sit down and like with a pen and a pad and be like, what can stay and what can go, because I can't do what I'm doing right now in September. It's just not possible. But I guess where we're at right now is more like, how much full time am I going to take off around the birth? Because I think it's only fair to take a decent amount for sure. And then like when we come back to like start to ramp up again, how are we going to get there? Like what's going to go first? I feel like, I really, even within like a week or two of the birth, I would love to be streaming again, even if realistically I can't be like, I've got a 3-hour window blocked off that I can't be interrupted during. Even if I could get like an hour or 2 hours here and there, that would be enough for me. But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing I can really say right now is at least I'm not going into it like in denial. I'm not like nothing's going to change. I know things are going to change, but it's a good reason to explain, or people will understand, I guess, is.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting too, just to see like how you manage it, and I'm sure as we get closer to it in the podcast, we'll talk about like preparations and stuff like that, and the only insight I can offer, which is like cliche insight, but is like like the first couple weeks and months that they're born. That's like, I mean, it's like rare air. I mean, it's you don't get that, right? So I don't know, and it's not like it's different when they get older, but I don't know. You just kind of look back at that time and you're like I doubled down on that time, like shut everything down. And there's like, there's this quote, and I'm not trying to get all sappy, but I read it one time. It's like, you'll never regret working less to spend more time with your family. And I always feel like that, even if like a video gets cut or I cut something short, it's like, you don't regret that time that you didn't put into a video. And it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's like that for everyone, but it'll be interesting to see how things play out.
I want to be there, for sure.
And I mean, there's a lot of dad stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about it as it gets closer. So, okay. So you've been had the brick on the pedal, and then see what happens. It's funny, man. Cause like what I just went through, like it's like a cycle. I've handed you the baton. Like I'm pretty good now. And now it's like, but anyway, so I'll pivot to my L of the week. L of the week, it's similar to you. I added another series on YouTube. I'm starting to notice like a common thread here. And the L isn't managing the series, it's just the reception to the series, right? So, Spelunky's doing well, and for context for me, it's like 1,300 to 1,800, 2,000 views per episode, which for my channel is really good. Like, okay, I'm gonna apply those same principles of a daily video with like a like goal to Tarkov. And it's like probably like 60% of the numbers. And I had this moment today when I was like hurrying up to get the video done. I'm like, you know what? Give it, like, you can't judge a series based off 4 days. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. But a series like, I started to look at Tarkov like a roguelike. It's just so unique every time. I'm like, I'm going to give it 30 days and then evaluate after 30 days. So I'd say like it's an L, but also like a learning L on my side.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, for like YouTube content, I would almost, not to play devil's advocate, but I would say most of the time, after like 2 days. However, the types of games that are different are stuff where it can change every time, or stuff where like, I really see Tarkov's popularity ebbs and flows based on like the meta surrounding the game. Like right now, maybe it's a little low, but in January, people were losing their minds. And it's a game that it's not like out and now it's burning and it's going to run out one day, right? Like there's going to be more swells in the future. So I think giving it 30 days makes sense. It's not something like you didn't start playing The Last of Us and like episode 1 hit X and then episode 2 was like 1/8 and you're like, well, I got 35 hours of this game left and it's gonna tank.
Yeah, one of the things I think about, and it's not from a comparative standpoint, because like I one of my like non-pillars of how I operate is I don't compare what I do to other channels. Like I don't look at like your subscribers, because I think that's a really fast way to kind of sabotage yourself. But what I think about a lot is Sinvicta, right? So he's done so well, but I it's been cool to see him go from like 0 to where he is now. Like where I met you, you were kind of already there. So it's like, so I'm starting to think, well, when Sinvicta started Isaac, he wasn't pulling 80,000 views on his first episode. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I think like when I do comparative, I look at like examples of people that have done something that you think you can recreate or follow in similar footsteps, as opposed to like, hey, why does this person have 80,000 views per video and I have 2,000? So I don't know. So I like to like be around people and see like, that happened for him and there's a reason why. And like, we can infer and kind of pinpoint certain things we think may help. But I think with YouTube, you kind of never know.
Yeah, for sure. It's always like a lottery ticket. It's not like TikTok. Like on TikTok, I have no idea. On YouTube, I'm like, I think generally speaking, I'm going to say that it's a meritocracy in the sense that things that people want to watch tend to rise to the top, for whether it's because that person's already a celebrity or they did something different or the algorithm was like, not that many people watched this, but the people that watched it loved it. So we're going to show it to more people. But yeah, no, I would agree. I think it's good to take lessons from that from other people.
And to talk about like, not to double back on your journey, because I know it's like Isaac, you only talk about so much, but do you remember when you started and you did Isaac? Was it like a huge spike? I mean, like in terms of, do you remember that time? Because you were posting a bunch of stuff then, I know.
Yeah. I mean, it was, from what I remember, because it was like 9 years ago. 9 years ago. It was slower, but it was because like the industry was a lot different back then. There were probably like 1/50th as many people paying attention to YouTube, both on the creator side and on the viewer side. So like things didn't happen like you posted a video and then that day it was like, oh, I'm huge. But then like Isaac came out and Ed wasn't even like a celebrity in the gaming industry back then. He had made Super Meat Boy or designed Super Meat Boy. So like people knew Isaac, but it really took like the game came out, I played it, and then slowly over like a couple of weeks and months, like media played it, like Rock Paper Shotgun did like a really glowing praise of it, and then used on Steam it gets popular, and so it spread sort of like more naturally like that. The spike that I remember for sure is when Wrath of the Lamb came out in which was like May 2012. That was the first DLC for Flash Isaac. And it was like, because I think what happened is it took all of the people from that first 6 months of the game's release that liked it, and it brought them all back at the same time. So they so many more people were like looking for videos that those videos took off for sure.
But for you, when you started your Isaac series, it wasn't like a huge like pog moment. So you just kept playing it because you liked it, or you're like, oh, like there's solid viewership and it's not dipping?
If I remember correctly, I feel like they did well, but it wasn't the kind of thing where you posted and you're like, oh, this is like a firecracker, right? It was really just like a small victory. And then, eventually like it grew, it got momentum. And then that May, it really like, it took off in a big way. And then, the same thing happened when Rebirth came out. When Rebirth came out, the growth was like, it went straight up for a month or something like that, And that's what I mean, of course, like I'm not pinning my hopes of success on the DLC, but I think that naturally that's what's going to happen. You have a base of something with, maybe like 3 or 4 million people have played Isaac. When new DLC comes out, it brings back some of that attention that it's had over, the cumulative period of its whole existence. So I think something like that could happen with Tarkov, like the people that got big boosts from Tarkov on Twitch when they had drops, it wasn't only people that like pivoted from Warzone to Tarkov in that moment, right? Like there were people like Pestily that have been playing it forever. I don't know what his view count was when he started playing Tarkov, but I'm, probably wasn't like 20,000.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but I think it's cool to look at like the history of like you and like Sinvicta, because I think there's lessons like people listening to this can like take from it. And I don't know, I just feel like there's so many examples of like, even like Bear right now, right? So, in the back channel, Bear's like, hey, Darkest Dungeon is blowing up, and we're like all happy for him, but there's like a story behind why he's in a position to experience that. And I think I think there's just, when you have people, because the way I look at YouTube is, we talk about this all the time, but people have so many different winding paths, but I think there's times when you can draw similarities out of it. I find it fascinating. So let's pivot to your W of the week.
Yeah. So I had some time to think about it while we were talking earlier. And I think it's not on YouTube or Twitch. My W of the week is that like TikTok's been going really well, you know? And more than just like, I don't want it to seem like cynically I'm just looking at the numbers and like rubbing my hands together. It's more like I like using the app more than I did like a month ago because things are going pretty well on it. So I look forward to like waking up and like looking through my drafts and I'm like, okay, this is the one that we're gonna put that one in the lottery today. And I think it's got a chance. And then you watch it for like an hour and you're like, I don't know. Sometimes you get some work done, you come back 6 hours later and you're like, oh, this one really it got some traction. So I really feel like I haven't had many home runs in like the last 2 weeks on TikTok, but I got a lot of doubles. Let's put it that way.
Like a double is like flirting with like 50.
Yeah, maybe like 50,000, 25 to 50,000 or greater.
So now we've both been on the platform on TikTok for a while. Do you believe in the catch and hold meta? The ride the rocket meta. Do you believe in that? Like,
no, well, yeah, yes and no. So what Dan's talking about for context is the idea that if you have a TikTok that gets picked up by the algorithm and, you know, gets hundreds of thousands of views, or even if it just gets started on that ascent, don't post again and it'll just keep feeding views to that video through, I'm not going to call it a superstition, but like, you know, maybe for some reason, because you haven't pushed something that did worse afterwards, then it's taking that video and feeding it to more people or something. I have a different philosophy right now.
Wait, so do you? So that's my philosophy. Do you / superstition? Do you agree with that or disagree? Or you have another take?
I think algorithmically it could have some legs.
Okay.
For one TikTok getting more views.
Okay.
Like if you A/B tested like your video that got like it's at 300,000 almost right now or something. If you had posted something after that, I do believe that maybe it would have gotten 150 or something like that, or 75,000 instead. But I think that's good for that clip if it works. But I've kind of like moved my YouTube philosophy over to TikTok, I guess, which is just like consistent, like once a day, no matter what. And what I'm finding is that like the growth of followers is really high. And admittedly, it's kind of hard to like separate because one TikTok got 900,000 views in 2 weeks.
Which one?
So that is the Call of Duty flashbang that goes off in my face. So like those are.
So you almost have your first milli? Oh,
it's at 901,000 right now.
Yo, everyone go to TikTok. You have a unique name on there. It's like not Northernlion.
The official Northernlion. Someone else took Northernlion.
Go to official Northernlion and drop a heart on it. That feeds it. I'm doing that right now.
So it's hard to separate how much of like, because I've seen a real uptick in followers. How much of that is because that one video resonated with people and is pushing a lot, and how much of it is that I've really had like 10 of my last 12 have done pretty well. And maybe that's leading to people being like, oh, I've seen a couple of these guys and I like it, so I'm going to click the follow button. But I feel like TikTok has done super well lately. And, you know, I think we talked about it like 2 weeks ago or something, but it used to be like my wins were huge because that's just how TikTok goes. And my average was like 2,000 or 3,000. Now it's like the wins can still go huge, but the average ones, like I look at now at TikTok, if it has like 8,000 views, I'm like, that's a dog. That got destroyed out there.
What do you think your average is now, roughly? You got a K by it for sure.
Well, in terms of average, I guess it depends whether you're looking at like, if you average the views of all TikToks, it would probably be like in the 30s or 40s because I have a couple that have gone big, but some are terrible.
But like, what's one for you? Like just your internal meter. Like you put this one out, you said 8,000. That's a strikeout. What's one for you? Like, all right, this was a base hit. This is what I should, you know, not should, but this is what feels normal. They're like, all right, this one.
If I'm happy if it hits like 2025.
Okay. And then
if it doesn't hit 2025, I'm not like, oh crap, you know. I'm like, you know, just some of them you have no idea what works on the platform and what doesn't. Like we were talking about TikTok 2 Unities ago where I mentioned that guy made a duet of me and just like made fun of me for camping in his duet. I clipped that and put it on TikTok and it got 110,000 views. And there's not even like a joke. The joke is just like a guy was mean to me and people are like, I want to see more of this. It's crazy.
So I'm checking the wire while we're checking the wire. I just got a note from Tyler, the producer, who is invested in TikTok. He really helps me on the back end with all the TikTok stuff. He has a question for you. He wants to, because I put music on every one of my TikToks, and I don't think I've seen you use it, but it doesn't seem like you use music on your TikToks often. Why is that?
When I first got started, and I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do on TikTok, I did put music on it because I thought that was kind of like, I think that's the reason a lot of people put music on it, is because they're like, oh, this is a popular sound, or it fits very well here and it'll like lend itself to the joke. But I was just like, most of the time, those didn't do that well. And also I was like, I'd rather just put my clips on it without music, like being unedited. And I think it seems to be working. I wouldn't feel comfortable being like, the way to go is to not put music, or the way to go is to put music. But for me, like, instead of putting music on it, I like focus on, like, I caption it, and occasionally like we can add some extra sauce in the captions or something like that. Little, like in the one that I posted that actually didn't do that well, where I was like, I got a snipe and then 20 different things in Warzone popped up. Like, when I talked about it, I like took the clip and slowed it down and put like a sepia filter on it so that it was clear that it happened in the past. And like, the stuff like that is more interesting to me,
When you said that, though, not to go against your anti-music stance, but when you said that, and when that stuff started lining up, I heard "When I Pop Down, Baby." I'm like, I like put that on there because Tyler's been like, I think he wants us to like start testing no music, and I'm like, I don't care, I'll do whatever. And then other thing, do you go in the comments and you mix it up? Have you like, do you have like a feedback of, or things you learn from the comments? Like, is it just people roasting you, or you like?
Well, I just try to like, I mean, I think this is a very common thing that people do on TikTok. Within like the first half hour that a video goes live, I try to like respond to every comment, because I do think, and again, we're all just feeling our way through it. I do think that like more comments probably gives you a chance to do better in the algorithm. And moreover, like, if you encourage people to write comments, and this is something I saw on like another TikTok, I have no idea how true it is, but if you encourage people to write comments while they're commenting, the video loops a few times while they're typing it, which might make it go higher because they're getting rewatches. I don't know. That's just what I heard.
I never thought. I mean, how could it not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So officially, the numbers could all be inflated across the board, but still.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I don't have like I'm not gaming the system.
Yeah.
Really, like, I'm not trying to put out TikToks where I'm like, if you want to see more, double tap the video and you're number 7, right? There's a lot of that on the platform. My philosophy is just like, make good content, but then also try to like nurture it in the release window, you know, and then see how that goes.
See, you talked about it, and it, like, I felt like the not the cringe, but the squeeze of it. Like, I'll watch a TikTok because I'll like consume some content there. I'll watch like TikToks and be like, you won't believe what happens when you put this into a blender, and this like slow motion, and right when it goes into the blender, it cuts, and it's like part 2 tomorrow.
Follow for part 2. And part 2 is on my Instagram.
I'm never doing that. And so like, there's like stuff like that I learned. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But like in the comments, like I don't know. Have you seen any crossover? Like, sometimes I see comments be like, oh, hey, I didn't know there were Tarkov TikToks, you know, or hey, I didn't know you streamed, or any, like, I'm starting to get some of that stuff. Do you get any of that? Or hey, NL, I didn't know you were on TikTok. Do you?
I do get a lot of that. You know, and it's not offensive to me, but the comment I get the most that hits me like that is I get comments that are like, hey, I used to watch you play a lot at Isaac back in like 2013, 2014. And I'm like, still doing it. Like, but come in, pop in. We're even better now. We're having a lot more fun with it. But I don't think, and I'll give you my case study for this. Sometimes in TikTok, I'll be scrolling and I'll get like game footage, right? And it'll be like Warzone footage predominantly because the algorithm has me pegged down to like a very specific circle. And I'll like look at this and I'll be like, oh, this girl has like, this TikTok has 350,000 likes. And then I click on her profile and then like she has like 1.5 million followers, which is absurd.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to her Twitch channel and like look at her stats on Twitch. And this is not to punch down.
No.
But she might average like 50 to 100 viewers.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me kind of makes me look at it and say like, I don't think using TikTok to advertise your stream is something that's really going to move the needle for you. I mean, if you're starting super low and you get huge on TikTok, going from 0 to 50 is nuts, right? Like that's a huge difference. But I don't think it's going to be the kind of thing where if you hit gold and get 2 or 3 million followers, you're going to end up with like, 50,000 concurrent viewers. I think the way it works is actually the opposite. I think that if you have a Twitch and a YouTube presence, it's way easier to grow your TikTok because you already have an audience to send there. And really, I think they'll stay on Twitch and then go to TikTok now and then and be like, ha ha ha, instead of the opposite. So I don't see it as like a growth strategy. It's more just like, I guess it's just another platform to post content, and to some extent, like getting attention feels good. And maybe one day they'll add some kind of monetization or something that goes on the platform in order to make it, on the economic side a little better. But even if they don't, I don't know. It's just kind of nice to have a lot of people be like, this was funny.
I agree, but I also respectfully disagree. So,
okay.
So for example, like that guy or the comment you get, hey, I used to watch you. I used to watch you. Like, to me, those are like quality at bats where you're never getting that person ever. Like without TikTok, but now it's like, hey, here's a 10% off coupon. Come back into Ryan Gary's Burger. Like, I think, like, I agree. I don't think it's like you said. I don't think 1 million on TikTok translates to 5,000 concurrent on Twitch. But I do think it's like, it's like the Tuesday night special. Like some people will just kind of. I believe that to be true. But I'm with you. I don't think it's like it's not a secret to life or anything like that. But I think it's like anything else. It's like a slow go. And I think, and I haven't done it. And maybe I might start doing it next week, just once in a while. I'm gonna start asking. I'll do it on one show. Is anyone here because of TikTok? And I think you might be surprised, especially with your viewership. I think you might be a little surprised. Do I think of your anywhere between 3,000 and 7,000 people that watch you? Do I think it's going to be 1,000 people that say, oh, I came from TikTok? No, but it could be like 20, 25. I don't know. I think
that would be cool. It would surprise me a little bit. It would be cool. But I'm almost like, I think, and people are not going to maybe take this the right way, but I'm going to try to phrase it so that they do. This is really how I believe, or what I believe about it. I kind of started TikTok from a cynical standpoint of like, you never know what platforms are going to take off, what platforms are going to fall off, right? And even TikTok could get destroyed at some point pretty easily, I imagine. It's still kind of young. But like originally, I was like, you might as well start building up a presence elsewhere. You never know what's going to happen to YouTube. And maybe people will come from TikTok to YouTube and Twitch, and it'll help like grow the channel. Now I'm more like, I really feel the same way about it that I felt about YouTube like in 2010, where I take like 20 minutes a day and I make something with no expectation that like the reason I'm making this is to make money or move the needle like in terms of my online presence. And it's more just like, let's see if people like it. And like, I learn a lesson from the ones that suck. Like, don't post so much Dark Souls. And like, that's a big one. Post way more Warzone. But it's almost like it's just like a viral content lab. And I like it for that. Instead, like on YouTube, I love YouTube. I love Twitch. On YouTube, when I make a video like Northernlion Tries, most of them I'm making because I'm like, I make a Northernlion Tries every day. I've got to do it. And also, I enjoy it, and a lot of people enjoy watching it. But on TikTok, it's like I could go a week without posting, and nothing would happen. Like, it wouldn't affect me at all. But I want to post once a day just to keep seeing what's happening. It's just fun to see how people respond to it.
So it sounds like, and I'm with you on that. It's like when you said early YouTube, which I didn't know, but like, it's for the love of the game. It's not because you're getting paid. It's not because there's some like sponsor deal, or it's just like it's the love of the game. You enjoy.
There were like 8 people making money on YouTube.
Yeah. No, and I think that's cool. And I think, like you said, I mean, my take on it is that I feel the same way. And I feel like I'd rather be everywhere and like say try 10 different platforms and 9 of them fail, but be there early. So if one does grow, you're in a position to, take advantage of it, or, just be there and not go to the well after, there's 100 golden retrievers trying to drink all the water out. You've kind of already at the bottom of the well, just doing a backstroke. But I don't know. And I think at the end of the day, it's to build on what you said about, hey, if someone happens to Twitch, YouTube, it's like, it's not going to hurt you by being on TikTok. It's just a matter of, where you put your importance on it or not. That's cool, you know, and I didn't know I mean, now you're going to be watched in that one. I didn't know you were that close to 1 million.
Well, you know, let me check.
Because once
I think I snuck in a check today, like while you were talking to see, because I had one that went like 1,000, 9,000, and I was like, oh, this could be going somewhere. That I checked and it was like 9,200. I'm like, crap. Well, it's at 903.5 thousand. It's ticking.
You at some point you'll get there. It could be today, tomorrow, it could be a week, but when it goes from a K to an M on the number, it feels a little bit different. I will say that. But I actually, at some point though, like I'm gonna be honest, like at some point, like I forgot, and I don't care about the numbers. It's like someone had to tell me in chat, like, "Hey Dan, this one just hit 3 million." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool," you know. But I don't know. I think if you're doing something because it's fun and you enjoy it and you don't worry about everything else, I think that's normally a good sign of that. You know, you found something that aligns with you.
Yeah. How about you? What's your dub of the week?
Yeah, so my W of the week, I went pretty deep on it. I do, you know, my Monday podcast on DanGheesling podcast. I went really deep, but I'll just give you the brass taxes. I've played through all the Souls game, and the running joke is that Miyazaki has a story and it's all fake, right? So none of the stories matters. And so we've kind of like just along the way had fun making up a story. And I'm like, in my head, probably it was like halfway through Demon Souls, I'm like, what if at the end of Demon Souls, we play the real ending that Miyazaki intended and then immediately shift into this other video that actually explains the story? And I'm like, okay, what would have to happen to make that possible? One, I'm not going to do machinima, right? Like I know, number one, I can't do machinima and I can't animate it. So I need an animator. And I'm like, okay, how far can we push this thing? I'm like, can I get some voice actors? I'm like, yeah. Have you ever done that? No. Can you write a script? Have I ever done that? No. Can we try? Yeah. So like put the script together. And really kind of what sparked it was that guy that did the Unity animation. You remember? Yeah, it's like really impressive. I'm like, man, how could I adapt this? And so like I put together a substantial budget to hire an animator, hire the voice actors. And I'm like, let's just do it. And like, this is kind of one of those things where I was like really uncomfortable doing it in like a good way. It's like, all right, this is a chance people could look at this and be like, this is dumb. What was the point of this? I'm putting up like money to do this. And the whole point of it wasn't like because there's a monetary payday. For me, I wanted to do it because I wanted to make something for the community that I think they would enjoy. But just like, you know, sometimes you make something like, I think they're going to like it. And you don't know, you know, so it was like definitely a huge leap of faith. And it's probably the first thing I've done in a while. I equate it to when I first started streaming. Like when you first start streaming, like it feels kind of weird, like you're kind of putting yourself out there. But like now that's muted or you know, dulled. But it kind of felt that way because like it's doing something off the wall. I wrote the whole thing and like when I played it, I'm like, I'm definitely turning the camera off because I almost felt like I had like a small glimpse, and I didn't, you know, all I did was I like produce it, right? I put the voice actor, hired the anime, I did all that, but I didn't actually make it. That's not true. I made the first part of the video, but I was like the first time I felt like I can understand how when people like make art and they're like, I wonder what people think of it. Like I kind of felt like that. Not that I think it's like highfalutin art, but I just felt like exposed like that. So it was cool to see like when it hit, it was like you and I talk about like the chat was just, it was like a monsoon of like people are like, what is this? What? And then it slowly creeped in and they understood what it was and they liked it. So it was like a really good feeling, but it was like almost like TikTok. Like you did something with no expectation of like, hey, this is gonna like making a lore video about a specific character central to the community that watches the show is not gonna explode on YouTube or bring in millions of Twitch. That wasn't the point. So it was cool to do that, execute on it, and then have people really enjoy it. And it's kind of like makes things really exciting now. So like because now that went well, it's like, okay, how can we make it better or different? So it was a big win because for me it was like it was a risk and that's why like the past week or two I was kind of like you. I'm like I didn't talk about it, but like all this extra time I'm putting into writing a script, getting with 4 different VOs, making sure that, you know, it's like, it's a lot. It's like taking on not to be dramatic, like a film production while you're still doing your normal everything, you know, your life, your family. But it went really well and it was exciting to see the reaction and it felt good to kind of like stretch the boundaries of what I feel the show is, and how it can continue to move in the direction. So that was a big win on my end.
Yeah, and I mean, I got a lot of thoughts on that. One is, in my experience, I haven't done it that often, but I agree 100%. Like, if you put in work on something that's just outside of the box for your stream, people respond in kind most of the time. Like, even on 2 Sundays ago, I had a great Warzone solo on stream that I edited down to like 7 minutes of just the highlights, and I played it before a stream. And the first 30 seconds, people were like, I don't know what's happening. But then once people got into it, they were pogging out of control. And that was just like, that only took an hour to make, right? So anytime you can do stuff like that, I think it because like streaming, I'm not going to say is easy, but it's the same, right? Like, even if you bring high energy, it's kind of at a level kind of magnitude the whole time. But if you do something out of the box, I think it makes people realize like this is a special thing to kind of like witness live, and you put more care into it, so they respect that. The other thing is, that's why like being so busy is actually like it's a double L. It's because right now I'm like, I want to do stuff like that, but I feel like every like 10% more work is like 50% more crunch, right? So I feel like I don't have the time. So actually, I'm glad that you said that, because now I'm like, man, I really gotta work some stuff, work out the kinks a little bit, so I can get back to like editing a little bit more, and maybe making a tier list or something like that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of what you said. It's like when you stream, it's the same, right? You put on a good show, and like you do it for a while, like, oh, these have been all really good shows for the past month, but now what, right? Like, now, like, what more can you do? And some people are like, hey, that's what I want to do. I'm cool doing that. But for me, it's kind of like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Like, if I'm still playing Tarkov 10 years from now and it looks exactly how it does, like, I just don't think I'd be happy doing that. So like, this video could have came out and it could have flopped, but at least like, and I told myself that, I'm like, I have no expectations. If it flops, at least this went from like idea to execution, and it was something that you were like proud of. And if it flops, that's fine. Then we'll try something else. And I think there's something to that, right? So like, I just knew, like, and I'm sure it was the same for you when you opened up your show playing a video, which is very rare for you.
Yeah,
right?
It's unusual.
Yeah. But like, I'm sure that day, or like the minutes before the show, you're like, you had like some additional excitement, and like you felt different because something was happening that was different.
Yeah, you knew it was gonna go like it wasn't just gonna be the normal. It was, people are either gonna be like, never do that again, I hated it, or some people are gonna be like, that was a lot of fun.
What was the reaction to that?
It was largely positive, I would say. I mean, Warzone is like without getting into the minutia of it, it's like a Flashpoint issue kind of, because some people are like, I just hate Call of Duty in principle, and some people are like, I like it, but I've seen so much of it. And so I did it the next day after it. So some people were like, I already saw this. But largely people were like very stoked.
Yeah. No, and and I think, like, to me, it's just, I think it just further encouraged, especially to hear that from you, is like to continue to try new, different, weird stuff. And the other thing too that kind of, I don't want to say surprised me, but also felt good making the video, is that like I hired everyone who worked on it. So it's like to be able to make something, and then not like you're providing a job, but like you're hiring people. Like, there's a sense of that felt really good. It's like, hey, there's these people that are working in this particular field, whether it's VO or animation or whatever. And it's like to be able to hire them and say, hey, look, like, what you do is good. And, it feels good that they can, not that like I'm doing anything to help them, but like that they can continue to do that. But I had like a weird, unique, good feeling of like, it felt good to bring in these creative people and then pay them, that hopefully I think will translate into hiring them more. It was kind of like I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but that was something that I didn't expect from the whole experience.
Like, paying people feels good. It's like, A, you're like, I'm doing, I don't want to say like a good thing, but you're like engaging in business. And B, you're like, weird flex. Like, I generated enough revenue from doing what I do that I can afford to reinvest a little bit back into it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, and it's one of the principles not that I hope people take away from, but like I keep like everything I do online, like with gaming and YouTube, I keep it like the ship really tight. Like, I don't like pull money out and buy a ton of stuff, but like I try to, wherever I can, whether it's, making a video, try to reinvest it back in, because like I would rather have a budget to make that video than like 2 new pairs of shoes or 10 new pairs of shoes or however much it was. So like, I don't know. And maybe it's because that's how like I'm wired, but I just feel like the other side too. And this was, irregardless, when that video played, like from the monetization standpoint, that wasn't the goal. Like it exploded, right? But that wasn't, so it was like, it kind of like, without putting the budget numbers out there, it was like close to covering everything, but that wasn't the intent, So I don't know. It just, to me, it's like when the check comes in, you get the physical check from Twitch, right? You get a physical.
I do, yeah.
when the wire comes in or the ACH transfers come in, it's like, okay, hey, look, like I'm starting to allocate this high percentage is going back in some way, form, or fashion. I don't know, because it's exciting. I think to be able to like find ways to do that and not like to be wasteful on it, right? Like this was definitely the biggest, 7-minute monetary injection I've ever put into the show, and I don't think it would be wise to do that at the start, or but I don't know. So that was a huge win on my end, because it just kind of validated to like continue to push in that way.
I'm glad to hear it.
And then the other thing I've been doing, and it kind of ties in with what you were talking about, opening your show with a video, is I actually learned it from, there's this guy I watch a little bit, his name's The Happy Hob, and he'll take a break, but instead of it being like chair stream, it's like highlights. And like, so I've started because, for the past couple years I've been doing the show, when I take a quick break in between segments, it's usually just a chair or whatever. And like, so to have like produced videos to go in that slot, what I've noticed is like, instead of a dip, there's really no dip, because you're still providing some entertainment, although not being the normal show. You're providing some entertainment that keeps people around and may be interested, in watching Undertale when they were watching Tarkov.
So I have a question for you. I don't believe I've ever asked this.
Yeah.
You just don't run ads like basically at all?
So I run ads once per show. Is that you do every hour?
Usually twice, yeah, like 3 minutes per hour.
So I'll run ads when I go from Tarkov to whatever the second game is. So I'll play the video and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna run 3 minutes worth of ads, and I play the video. So some people see it. I guess some people see ads. But it's been a huge difference in terms of like some people leave, but it wasn't like a huge dip. And I don't know, maybe it's, but I feel better about it on my end because it's not chair stream,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I run counter to a lot of Twitch streamers for sure. I'm an ad guy to some extent, and I will admit I think that it probably only becomes worth it like at a certain number, right? Like if you have 10 viewers, having 2 of them not leave probably matters more than whatever you would get out of the ad break, which is like literal pennies, I would assume. So like I do think that there's like an economy of scale that comes in at some point, but I'm definitely like I like running the ads. Now running the highlights below the ads for people that don't see the ads, I think that's a good idea for sure. I'm hitting people with chair streams, but I could make a playlist of like the best of NL 19, best of NL January, February, March, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and it just like it's nice too. The thing I do is I just have a separate source in OBS or separate scene. So like if I need to set up the next game, or if I had to talk, like it's just the video that helps a lot. But without giving away the secret sauce, if you had to guess like your percentage of, your chunk of 100 from Twitch, what percentage of that do you think is ads?
But like it depends on the month, but like maybe 10 to 20.
Okay. So it's a
20 in a really high ad month. It could be, but it's definitely not 50-50 for sure. It's a smallish chunk.
But so it's a piece of the pie. So if someone delivered you a pie with no ads, you'd be like, hey, someone took the piece. So for you, it's like
some, from an accounting standpoint, I'd be like, where's the pepperoni on this one?
Did you always run ads like in between segments, or did you wait? Always.
Yeah, I've always run. I think it's because I'm like a YouTube dude first, so I'm like ads are kind of like the only way you make money on YouTube. So I'd always kind of made ads part of the culture. And then the other thing is I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm a contrarian at heart. Every time I've heard big streamers be like, I don't run ads because people leave, I'm like, you can't control that. You got to go to the bathroom. Like you're not going to sit at your chair for 10 hours and be like, oh, I can't pee. Someone's going to leave. Like while you leave, I'm like, you can run ads. If the alternative to ads is chair stream, then I think you should just run ads personally. And if 3% of people leave, that's okay. However, there have been times, because I also don't want to reveal too much about the monetization side of Twitch necessarily, but in general, ads have gotten better on Twitch over the last, like half decade. But when it wasn't as good, I was like, maybe this is like an arbitrage opportunity where if you made your own ads that were like, hey, watch this series, this is going on. And then like, I don't know, a minute and a half of highlights and then a 30-second pitch that was like, by the way, use your Twitch Prime subscription if you're interested, or like subscribing to the channel helps out a lot. That might move the needle economically more than what you would get for the ad revenue. So I that crossed my mind a few years ago, but I never actually did it, which would have been really helpful for a conversation like this.
Well, he's
writing it down.
You just gave me because I feel like, and we have like, this will be like the only other thing I'll bring up, but like you talk about like opportunities to like, if you watch an ad, like that, to me, that's like pretty passive. You ask someone to subscribe, that's extremely strong, where it's like, if you run an ad saying, Twitch Prime, that's kind of passive. It's not, super aggressive. But the other thing I want to bring up, because I don't want to forget about it, is I'm doing an Undertale playthrough, which has gone really well. And I told my wife yesterday at dinner, she's like, how's everything going? I'm like, I don't know what it is, but my game selection has been on point lately. I feel like, making the right choices, but for whatever reason, I don't know if I turned it on or people figured out I had text to speech on.
Yeah.
For during Undertale.
I was there.
And it was a really funny moment. Like it got to like hilarity and then it kind of like tailed off. And I stopped and I'm like, at the end of the show, I'm like, okay, it was really funny, but it's like derailing the show for monetary purposes. And I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, I don't feel great about it. So have you ever messed with text to speech?
No, but I think the way you're talking about it is kind of like the same way I felt about hype trains for a while, where I was like, the hype train almost takes away from the quality of the show, but also I can't deny that, especially the first couple of weeks of it was like crushing it, right? So I understand where you're coming from on this one.
Shout out to the community. Pre-show today hit the level 4 hype train before the show even started. But no, it was like, to me, it's like, okay, there may be some like funny, like once or twice a year moments to turn it on. But outside of that, I'm like, it just didn't, like, it got to the point where like, it didn't feel right. Like it felt like disruptive. So I wanted to get your take on that. Have you ever had text to speech on at all?
No. But where I get uncomfortable is when I see one person like quadruple dip when it comes to anything. So when I see like for me, if one person gives out like 20 gift subs, I'm like, thank you so much. If they give out 5 gift subs 4 times over the course of like 10 minutes, I'm like, am I doing something that's like it's like a Skinner box where like I'm giving them something in exchange for the subs, like psychologically, so they keep going back to the well? And I'm like, that's where I start to feel uncomfortable. So I wonder if there was an element of that for you.
What's a Skinner box, before I answer that question?
It's like, essentially you press a button and you get like good feelings. So it reinforces a certain behavior, I guess.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure it was like the ability. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm sure, but like I was cracking up because of the messages. So I'm sure that like inadvertently be like, oh, streamers say my name, make streamer laugh. I feel like that's what it turned into, which like to me is like, I really laughed really hard. So it was funny, but then it's like, okay, it was kind of like a moment in time. And then it's like, all right, that didn't feel like, in hindsight, it's like, I don't want to make that a staple of the show in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. We talked about it with like, if things feel wrong, then they probably need to be tweaked. Yeah. Like the same with the like thing, like ask him for like, can we get 2,300 likes? That didn't feel right. Yeah. But then like over time, I tinkered it down to the point of where I wanted it to be, and it feels better. Text to speech, I don't know. For me, that's like the same kind of like shouting out every subscriber.
Yeah.
So which I think for me makes me not want to do it, because I think I would be being interrupted all the time. But I definitely also think that if you turn it on for like a day, you would make a killing.
I can confirm. So 2 things you brought up there, and 1 thing I want to bring up, but you said you've kind of tweaked your ask at the end, or how you do it. What's like the Reader's Digest, and then like how do you feel about it, and where are things at?
It's almost like I wouldn't call it a guilt trip at the end, but it's just like, hey, especially for like Monster Train is such a good example, because those videos are an hour plus. I'm like, if you watched an hour and 3 minutes and 52 seconds, you clearly enjoyed the video. So while you're here, please do click the like button. And then I give like a 20-second, it helps, especially for like a long running series. And if you're already subscribed, the best way you can support the channel is to click the like button, because it just helps YouTube get a message that is like, people like this video. So they'll show it to more people. And over time, that'll keep new people coming to the community. And it's good stuff. And I really I could not feel less guilty. I couldn't feel less guilty after 63 minutes of content hitting you with like a little thing that's like, it would really help me out for free if you click this button. So I think that's where it feels right for me. Before, when I was like, I want to hit 3,000 on this, it was weird. Because I'm like, what am I going to do? If I hit 2,900, am I not going to put up another video? No, I'm going to put up another video anyway. So like, it felt weird. Now I'm like, it feels sincere and genuine.
Do you feel like you've definitely increased the general likes per video? Like, do you feel like, oh, I was around here, now it's like it's a substantial?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not, if I look at like analytically, like where the big dips recently in my channel have been recently over like the past 5 years, the doldrums of like Isaac Slay the Spire and then 1 more video a day. Usually Isaac might get like close to 1,000 likes in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then Slay the Spire would get like 500. And then like the other thing, first episode would get like 3,000. And then eventually it might get 500, right? Now, everything within reason is like over 1,000 daily. And there's like 6 videos. And all of, even some of like the Team Unity Tuesday VODs, like PUBG VODs might have gotten, I don't know, like 200 or 300 likes. Those Warzone VODs are at like 1,000, which is staggering to me.
That's with no ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's cool. No ask at all. So like, I do think that it's changed the culture around it for sure. Like I wouldn't surprise me per video if there's like a 200 to 300% increase on average from 2 years ago.
Right. Which at the end of the day, people are like, oh, who cares about numbers? End of the day, it's like, that is just, it's giving you more exposure, bringing more people in, potential. It's good.
That's the idea. At least, yeah.
Well, it's like, it gives you the at bat to maybe have YouTube put you in a position to grow, where if someone doesn't click the like button and they liked it, like they like it internally, but they don't click it, it's like they're not depriving you of that opportunity, but they're not helping you move the needle.
And it's hard to tell, because like, if you ever, like when I look at my own analytics, sometimes it's like insane. I can look and see like a video, like an average Northernlion tries, YouTube will literally show, it will give like 250,000 people the chance to click that video.
Really?
That's like,
how do you know that?
In the analytics, there's like a little funnel it shows you that's like, here's how many impressions your video has. Here's how many came from people being subscribed to you seeing it. And here's how many people YouTube showed it to that are not subscribed to you.
Do you know what that's called? Like YouTube showed it to you?
I think it's analytics reach.
Okay.
And then when you look at that, you can see like, okay, so YouTube showed 100,000 people. They gave, and when I say that, it's not like YouTube popped up do you want to watch this? Yes, no. It popped it up in the sidebar with 20 other videos, or at the end of a video when you get that like 3x3 panel, it popped it up there. So you're like, okay, what percentage of people actually clicked it? And some of the stuff, you're like 2 or 3%. So you're like, okay, 3% of 100,000. That's 3,000 people that watched the video that wouldn't normally have watched it. And to be honest, for me, on the analytics side, from a views standpoint, that doesn't change anything at all. If I see a Northernlion tries to get 30,000 versus 33, it's the same, you know.
What about that man eater though, hitting that 90?
True. But then, like, if you really, and this is where the like button stuff comes in, and we both took inspiration from Sinvicta for sure. But, you know, so now that's 3,000 people seeing your video that have never seen it before. If 5% of those people subscribe, that's something like, you know, well, actually, I think that might be 150 subscribers, which is way too much. Let's say like 1% of people subscribe. You know, that's 30 subscribers you got just from YouTube showing that video. And then, you know, maybe 1 in 10 of those subscribers watches 20 videos a month. Now, all of a sudden, you know, you start to do that video by video, and you're like, it makes a huge difference analytically.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what you said, so I got two things. One, when you're talking about, hey, the impression could put it in the sidebar, maybe across. Like in my head, I was like that beautiful mind with all the numbers swirling of like, yeah, but what about the thumbnail? What about the copy? What about the play? It's like there's all these things, and we don't know. Like we're trying to you're trying to isolate, like split test and see what stuff works. And so I don't know. I think we're both on the track to doing the right thing. It's just like try something, if better, do more, if not, do less. But for me, it kind of, you know, whether it's one person or whatever, to me, it's something that's one of the few podcasts I listen to. But there's this guy called Gary Vee. He has this fence posted. It's literally like the number 1 caret 0. So like 1 is greater than 0. So if you're doing something, and maybe this is a shout out, and maybe this will help people listening that are just starting or in the early stages of YouTube or Twitch, but if you get 1 more impression or 1 more at bat or 1 more person watching your show than yesterday, that's better than not having that person or that feedback or that comment. So I don't know. That's what I always think about when it comes down to this stuff. Cause I know people are like, well, you're doing all this stuff, you're tweaking all this stuff, but why does those numbers matter? And it's not necessarily the numbers for me, not the numbers that matter, but it's like the person. It's like, all right, this is an opportunity. Like you said, maybe you have 50 new people that subscribe to your channel, and maybe 10 of those people come to Twitch, and maybe 5 of those people become new regulars and like a positive part of the community. You just don't know. And I think that's the fun thing about everything. But as we wrap here, we're gonna take a few live questions from Twitch and then a couple from Twitter. Okay, this one's coming in. This will be a Twitter question. And people have been really excited, Ryan, just so you know, that people have been excited when we answer the Twitter questions using the hashtag #CheckTheWire, because these are people that aren't able to watch live.
That's true, yeah.
So this one is from Michael Benson. It says, if you were to give, I'll direct this one to you. If you were to give fresh advice to an affiliate on Twitch, on which platform outside of Twitch, so one platform outside of Twitch to focus on, what would you suggest and why?
I would still suggest YouTube for sure. I mean, I would suggest, I would cheat the question. Off, baby. I would suggest YouTube and Twitter, but I don't really consider Twitter like a business or brand platform. But I think that's the place you want to be to keep people updated. At least that's the place where I keep my audience updated. But I think for sure, pushing YouTube and Twitch have a great synergy together despite being competitors. If you stream on Twitch and you're already an affiliate, you can kind of, you can phrase it cynically or you can phrase it nicely, right? You can kind of double dip. You can take your content from Twitch, push it to YouTube, and start building a YouTube presence. You can use all the raw footage that you're making on Twitch, and maybe you're funny, not to be rude, but maybe you're funny like 10% of the time, and 90% of the time it's just kind of like normal. You can take all of those 10%, edit it together, and then, you know, you can put that together as a highlight, and maybe that'll take off because it's more edited and stuff like that. So I think YouTube and Twitch are like a natural fit. We disagree, I guess, Dan and I, in the sense, like, I don't think TikTok is like a marketing engine, really. There might be an exception if you can super take off from it, but I don't see much movement from TikTok to Twitch or YouTube. I would definitely say YouTube and Twitch are like natural pairs. So
before I get my answer, or you could quintuple dip. You could do a live podcast on Twitch. You get the live VOD on Twitch. You get the VOD on youtube.com/Northernlion. It gets served up on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and maybe you get a few TikToks. The rare quintuple dip from one piece of content. What were you gonna say?
I mean, you're not joking. I know you phrase it in a funny way, but you're not joking. But I was thinking about that. I'm like, dude, Tuesdays are like such a content farm for me. So we have Team Unity Tuesday. It goes great. Everybody loves it. Well, most people, and most weeks. But then like there's a lot of funny clips. So I take the funny clips. Those funny clips end up going to TikTok. And then every one of those videos gets spliced into a VOD. That VOD goes to YouTube. And then at the end of the month, the funniest parts of it go into the monthly like best of compilation, which gets uploaded again. Like that one day of content has like 5 new lives that spawn off of it.
Which also reminds people in your best Twitch clips of the month to come back and watch again.
But actually, I forgot to mention, like the clip of Apollo buying me back in the final circle, and then I landed on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah,
that Infinity Ward posted that on their Facebook, and it got 1.1 million views. So it's got a 6th life.
Yeah, I love the comments. I mean, there were some good comments, and then
somebody called me a bald weasel.
But I saw that on Facebook. I mean, you just don't know, right? So we're talking about quintuple and sextuple dip, but so Ryan said YouTube would be your number one. Yeah. My end, I would say everywhere, just everywhere. And I would say, let me give you what I would do on Twitter. I would go on Twitter and say you play, Monster Train. Say you play Monster Train. Go and then tactfully, thoughtfully, and non-asking for stuff, go to conversations. You can go to, I don't know if you can still do it, search.twitter.com, see people talking about Monster Train and just be like, hey, like talk about it. Like if you really love it, talk about it. Don't be like, hey, I really love Remove Resin, come watch my YouTube. Yeah. But just like get involved in the community. That's what I would do on Twitter without saying, like I would put your link or your bio, hey, plays Monster Hunter on Twitch or YouTube, but don't ever ask people to come check it out if they're interested in what, after you give them value. Oh, removing resin actually helps your chances to win. I don't know, whatever. Like give insight. I think that's what I would do.
I will also, just to put a capstone on it, because I agree with that. And we've said almost the opposite of this before, in the sense that like one sentiment that we've had is like, when you're working, you're probably better off doing your job than doing things related to your job. Yeah. Except obviously some stuff is like essential, right? You got to pay your taxes and stuff like
TikTok.
That. Yeah, exactly. But the exception to that rule for me is like, I do think, let's say you're like, I stream 8 hours a day. I think it might be better, depending on, maybe you're bringing the heat all 8 hours, but if that 8th hour kind of sucks, I think you might be better streaming 7 or 6.5 hours and then spending 30 minutes taking that stream and putting it on YouTube and spending 30 minutes on Twitter. Maybe you take a clip that you're like, this went really well. Also, like, don't just use it to be like, check out my clips, I guess. But, I think having a presence on the platform that you kind of nurture every day is worth it, rather than, just being like, I'm too busy, I don't have the time to put this over there. I think it will always benefit you to at least have some presence.
Full-fledged endorsement. Ryan was very nice about saying like, don't stream 8 hours. I bet you get more sauce out of streaming 6 hours and 2 hours of actual production and working on the other platforms. You get more sauce out of that than getting organically discovered on Twitch. Hands down, I would fight that tooth and nail. Ryan said it in a nice way. Don't stream 8 hours. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't know what I'm doing either. All right, we got a live question from Twitch. Okay, this is from Dr. J. Wilson. Says, what goes into game selection for you both?
The number one thing is like, it depends. So like everything's a little bit different. Northernlion tries, the number one thing I look at is what codes came into the inbox in the last like 2 weeks, right?
I gotta say something real quick. Whenever I'm like, oh, I want to do a first look at video, I look at my inbox, I'm like, bro, I saw Ryan do that like 4 days ago, like 3 days ago. I'm like, I'm getting all these. He's doing all these. But anyway,
Kate will attest too. But I wouldn't say I got mad, but I was stunned. We were watching some YouTube after dinner, and you did a first look of a game called Rogue Jack.
Yeah, let's play Blackjack.
Literally, that afternoon, I went to Steam. I found this game. I was like, oh, it looks really cool. It's like roguelite Blackjack. I recorded a video. It had no reviews at the time on Steam. I was like, how did he beat me on discoverability? How did you find Rogue Jack?
I don't remember, or I do remember it. I don't want to tell. I think it was either Steam trailer, so that 6 second thing, or Or I got the black hat. I may have seen Northernlion on Discord and it says Rogue Jack. I'm like,
really?
What's Rogue Jack? I'm not saying that's what it was, but I'm not saying that. I think it may be a combination of like I saw the video. I don't remember, but
the number one thing is if I have a code in my inbox, that makes it easy. Like I will buy a game for Northernlion Trials, but then it's like it's got to look pretty good, and it sounds rude, but like even like those videos are not crushing it. So to like really cut into the margin to buy a game versus playing a game that looks decent that's also on the house is like an easy choice for the most part. And then like
buying a $60 game and no one watches the video. Can't stay
and then
in business.
Like everything else is different. Like for a long-term series, you really want to see like where that comes from. Most of the time is the Northernlion Trials came out and everyone was like, I want to see a series. So that happened with Eden. It happened with Maneater. It happened with Monster Train. And then, for Unity, I'm just happy we have something that is really going right now. Because we were in the
dark. It's called the Dark Ages. Yeah. It's the Dark Ages.
We were constantly like going back and forth between stuff, trying to figure it out. And legitimately, it seemed like there was a moment where we were like, maybe we're just going to start playing PUBG for 6 months or something like that. And I'm very glad that we've made it past that.
I'll talk about real quick. I'll talk about game selection on Twitch since Ryan did it for YouTube. On Twitch, for me, like I felt like I've done a pretty good job picking the games, and the reason why I've done a good job is because I asked the community, right? Like I'm like, oh, we should play Undertale, and I'm like, well, do I really want to play? I'm like, maybe. And then when chat's like 95% play Undertale, it makes it easy, right? So like if I did it again today, I'm like, because I know Undertale is gonna wrap up. We're gonna destroy Sans. It's over. But I'm like, hey, maybe we slide in Mega Man or Sonic. If we were to do, because it's really short, I've never beat. I'm like, what would you rather see? 75% Mega, like, so you can do different stuff like that. But a lot of it for me is just listening to the community, and then also just having an idea of, hey, where's the cross section between what I love to play that puts on a good show and that people really get excited about watching. And you're gonna pick some dogs and stuff like that. And on YouTube, it's a little bit easier to cut the dogs loose than it is on Twitch. But speaking of, real quick, did you see someone tagged us on TikTok on someone getting a new dog? Did you watch it?
I didn't. No.
Oh, you gotta watch it. Okay, I don't want to spoil it. So if you go to TikTok, on the top it says you can go by mentions.
Yeah.
Someone tagged us both in it. It has to. Well, it'll ruin it, but it has to do with someone on Team Unity. All right, we'll take a quick.
No kidding.
We're gonna take a couple more quick questions. We'll try to rapid fire these. This is from Saltago. It says, what are your thoughts on special events? TCL, Champions Assault, Tournament of Shame, Pentathlon have all been some exciting and memorable moments of this community, but they're also a lot of work and time consuming. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like 50-50. I think you always win at least a little bit when you put in work to make an event. The question is whether you feel like the win was worth the effort. So I think like Champions of Salt was a win, but it also caused a lot of stress for sure. And then TCL was a huge win, but for Apollo, it was also a staggering amount of work. TCL, I think people are like all in. That one, I think it went very, very well. The only downside was for one person. They had to really probably put in like 200 hours of work, which is, that's rough. For sure. And I appreciate it a great deal. And like then the pentathlon, I think is a good like learning. It's an example as well. Because like that was almost no work and paid off a little bit. And it was like a fun thing to do. So I don't know. To be honest with you, in the future, I am way less likely to do an event like that. Like I have no desire to put on an event like that or organize an event like that. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, the reason why I don't like on the admin side working with streamers.
Why not?
We suck to work with. I don't think it's controversial at all. I'm sure if people in PR could speak openly about it instead of in back rooms, because they would get in a lot of trouble, they would be like, I hate working with streamers and influencers. You got to sign something, they don't sign it. They're like, I want to give you quadruple digits money to play a video game. You literally just have to open this in Adobe and click on the line and then send it back. And they're like, I'll get to it eventually. They wait like a week or 2 weeks. They don't read the documents or this. And me too. They don't read the documents or the schedules. You know, you got to make like 2 tweets for a sponsored deal. You only make 1. And then like I didn't know I had to put the VOD to YouTube. And then, you know, like, I think we suck to work with. And we're pretty good, but so many streamers are late all the time. I'm going to be live. Like, when are you going to be live? I don't know. Around 2. Could be 9 a.m. Could be 4:30 p.m. You know, I think we suck to work with.
No, I don't disagree with that. You know, I think, but at the same time, it's like, if you can, this is my philosophy on life. If you can just do like the average amount, if you could just do what's asked of you, you look like a legend. If you just do what's asked of you, you look like a legend, because no one else is really going to do that. And then if you bring a little more sauce, I can't wait to work with this person again. And you know, and I think I'm more conscious of that a little bit now. You know, especially with like an event like Austin, outside of one snafu, I'm like, my man put a lot of work into this. I don't want to be late and then monkey wrench the whole thing and the engine blows up. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. I feel responsible, which I think is a good thing, is like, you don't want to be the one to derail it.
Of course. Yeah. And I didn't mean to interrupt, but it just reminded me that like this TCL started like pre-pregnancy announcement, right? That Friday, my match was like the 2 p.m. match. And we got a call from our doctor the night before that was like, hey, we need you to come in at like 1:40 tomorrow to do something like super important. And I'm like, I was talking to Apollo. I'm like, I'm probably going to be late. I apologize. I can't tell you why, but I assure you I would not be late if it were not urgent. And then people, when you sign into the Twitch that day, you see people in chat like lying late in the chat, and you're like, you don't freaking know. You don't know. But you're gonna know
with the emote.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more quick ones. This is a good one. I think this one hits a little bit interesting. This is from Red Squirrel Live on Twitch. It says, how do you balance Team Unity Tuesday and the NLSS being a business but also a hangout with friends? What is that, powder? What do you call it when you strike the match?
It's a powder keg.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that bad, honestly. I mean, we've had like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, I really feel like Team Unity works totally fine, and occasionally there will be some friction. I'm not gonna say like there's never been a time where I have been ticked off, and I think that goes maybe for everybody except maybe you.
What do you mean?
That I think everybody in Team Unity has had like a week where I was like, you know, not screw this, but like, I'm not looking forward to next Tuesday. But like we talk about it and we like work it out and try to come to a solution that makes it work for everybody. So I think that makes Team Unity work like pretty well. It's the same on the NLSS for the most part. Like I mean, the thing is it's, and you know, this is another topic for another day, but it's really like only a business for me. So I think in some ways, obviously that sucks. the obvious financial way, but on an interpersonal way, I think it helps keep things somewhat frictionless, because if someone is like, I don't want to be on the show today, they just don't have to be on the show today. It's not like they are like pissed off at me and then they have to pretend to be friends with me for 3 hours and then when the show's over be like, no, I'm still mad. You know, if we have time to like professionally with the NLSS, we have space that where like I could just do a solo stream and then after the stream we can talk it out. I think really, and I'm pretty sure you're going to come at this from the same angle because you often do, but it's like, I think as long as you communicate with people, it's okay. Like as long as if you have a problem, you don't just like push it down and grow resentment. And instead you're like, hey, first off, I think I screwed this up today and I apologize. But secondarily, I also had a problem with this. I would like it if you didn't do that in the future. Like this is what rattled me about that. So I think the fact that we do that is what makes it work, really.
Yeah, and I think you nailed on the head in terms of like, you know, I'll just speak for the Team Unity side. It's never like, if someone's ticked off, it's like never you did this wrong. It's like, hey, I know I did this, or I know this happened. So it's like there's always like some admittance of fault before we start calling people out. And like it's very rare that we ever have issues to work out. But on my end for Team Unity, honestly, one of the things that keeps me going, and I've kind of found so I'm like streak based, right? Like I'm like we've been doing Unity now for what 2-3 years. And so like I call it like Divinity was to me was like the test. Cause I'm like I can't like it's not you, it's me, right? It's not you guys, it's the game, and I can't do this. And I think that's the interesting thing about Unity is like you have Apollo, you have Melf, you have you and me, and like we're all really different. But it works because of that reason. And I think to me, I'm with you, is like anytime there have been like issues, and we're talking like first world, nothing like major, like we all get each other. We've been doing it for a while. But to me, it's like I'm just so invested because it's so long running, right? Like I'm like I don't know. For me, like I don't have like a group of friends that I play with. Like that's it for me. Like that's like I really enjoy that time, and it just is like so happens that it also like coincides with the business. So I really look forward to that. Except when it was like Unity, or when it was Divinity, and I'm like, man, like. And everyone gives up something to do Unity, right? Like they could give up like editing videos, personal time, but it got to the point where I'm like, all right, I need to say something because like it's the first time ever when I'm like, okay, like I'm giving up my personal time for this, and it's not fun and not good content.
Yeah.
And like everyone was, I just communicated, and I know people were disappointed, but we kind of worked through it, and now we're pogging off every Tuesday night. So
dude, I'm so glad we like Warzone really could not have existed at a better time. It's got the banter magic of PUBG, but is actually like so much better made and so much more exciting. And I'm also like, and we're good now. Like we're at least when I think back to PUBG, it's like Mouth and Apollo doing stuff, and you and me hiding behind a tree, being like, I hope I see him so I can maybe take a couple of shots, but probably miss. Like. Oh, it's so much better now.
Yeah, and I think like it was. I think it was good to go through that. Go through like the dark ages of Unity, because I don't know about you, but I would say probably the same view. I appreciate where we're at now because we went from not eating to now it's a feast of dopamine. You appreciate the food a little bit more. I'm talking about the game. I'm not talking about the group. All right, and then all right, we'll go one more, and this will be a Twitter question. This one says, how do you guys deal with liking to stream a game but being bad at it? Or like when you're doing a puzzle game video and the comments are calling you an idiot for not seeing the solution when you were there. So basically, let's take it. This is from Scary Cloud on Twitter. It says, how do you guys deal with liking a game but being bad at it?
I don't know. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
It's the way I choose to think about it like that. And I mean, there's multifaceted. It's a multifaceted thing. One is everybody makes mistakes because I'm recording mine. Mine are more on display, and 30,000 people are watching it, so they're gonna see it more. And then the other one is remembering like these people are watching me. It's not their first video, so like if they see me being bad at a game, I'm like, that's kind of like why you're here. So I really in Unity I recenter myself like every game, and I'm like, yes, it would be better. For sure, if I could keep the banter going and also be 25% better. But people are watching me specifically, not tuning in, being like, this guy's going to get 12 kills this game. They're tuning in because, we're going to keep the conversational engine flowing. Like, that's the role that I play. So I still think it would always be better to be good at a game, for sure. And I think being amazing at a game, like truly in the top, like 1 or 0.1%, makes it so that you can maybe get away with having viewers for a game that would otherwise be boring if you sucked at. Like, I think if I streamed a lot of solo Warzone, people would snooze it pretty quick. But if you were like, if you're getting 10 or 15 kills a game, then yeah, people would be like, man, maybe his personality isn't necessarily that energetic, but just watching it is kind of amazing. So I think that that's what it comes down to. I mean, if people are watching you because you're good and you're bad, that's a problem for sure. Like as much as I like my favorite players on the Canucks, if they start to stink it up and they come into training camp like 70 pounds heavier or something like that, then I'm like, that's not my dude anymore. But if
yeah, but what if the post game interviews are just out of this world?
Well, but if if people are watching you because you're like entertaining or you're like a variety streamer, then I think honestly, just like get over it.
Yeah.
Really.
My take on Unity Warzone is like it's the first game in a while where I have to like sweat check, where I'm like the banter engine to me, it's like, oh no, we're trying to get the W, I got to dial in. So like I got to start implementing the sweat check. But on my end, it happened today on the show. I'm playing Tarkov. Someone new came in and be like, hey, Dan, you know you're bad at this game, right? And like I laughed at it, but for me, it's like if I'm bad at a game and people are entertained, call me the worst player of all time. Like then that to me, that's how I view my job, is like if I can make people laugh and excited and they have a good time, like I don't care if I died a Manus 1,000 times. If people enjoy it, I'm gonna do it. But I think that's also like, I mean, but it's not to say like I think naturally, like I wouldn't put any pressure on yourself to be like, oh, if I don't get good, no one's gonna watch me. But you know, over time, just by playing a game, like if I can get decent at Dark Souls, anyone can. If I can get a little bit close to average on Tarkov, anyone can. And I think I mean, we talk about all the time. If you're great at a game and you're entertaining, you're a skyrocket, you know. But most of us are somewhere in between, and just keep that in mind and don't beat yourself. Like just have fun, man. It'll be fine. Just have fun, forehead. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys being live. Appreciate you dialing in. iTunes, we went from 383 ratings to 406 ratings on iTunes. If you guys left an iTunes review, we appreciate it. If you're watching this after the fact on youtube.com/Northernlion, he's not going to ask, but I'm going to ask. Please push the like button. It helps the algorithm. Speaking of, and I don't want to, I'm shoehorning this in, but it was on my list. I didn't ask you. Final end cap on the merch sales. I mean, I want to talk about this more in depth, but
yeah, it's great. It went very well, and people have already started receiving it, and more people, like, shipping happened a little early for some of the stuff because some of it had been pre-printed, and a little late for some of the other stuff because maybe they didn't expect to make so many hoodies so quickly. But they're moving. People have sent me pictures of them wearing it already.
What was that like? What was that like to get like those first pictures? Where you
a huge exhale. That like, oh, they're actually making and shipping the stuff. That's, it's not like I thought they wouldn't, but there's always a chance, I guess. But then the fact that it arrived so quickly as well, I was like, oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, it's all positive so far. It really, I mean, the only negative is that I have had people, you're always going to have people, but I have people that are like, I only found out about the merch at 12:02 and it ended at midnight. So I've just been telling them the same thing I said on Check the Wire, which is we'll do another run, maybe not of the same designs, but we'll probably do another run in 2020 or maybe early 2021. But it's on the horizon.
I'm not an I told you so guy. I'm not. But in the comments of the last Check the Wire, it was filled with I didn't know. Where do we get the merch? I'm not.
But I'm only saying this because it's Check the Wire. But it was also like we launched the merch and then it very quickly became a strange time to go on social media and be like, buy my shirts.
Well, I'm sure we can talk about that next week. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Are you going live?
No, it's Friday.
Oh, no,
I'm out. We're playing some baseball this afternoon, hopefully.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to check out, if you listen to the audio on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, everywhere else. If you leave a review, it helps out the show a ton. If you want to watch our faces, go to youtube.com/Northernlion so you could see when I held up the L and didn't give you guys any context on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, the audio version will always be released Tuesdays at 6 a.m. and the videos on the weekend-ish on youtube.com/Northernlion.
Yeah, because we're recording this on Friday. It might be out on Saturday afternoon instead of Saturday morning, but we'll see.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.